Hello. So the last meditation group, there were two questions about the first one, renunciation or letting go. The second one was related to pressure. Can we live without it? Can we still organize our lives without pressure? Um, so what I want to do is basically read an important sutta on the Eightfold Path, uh, especially in relation to right intention, to talk about how intention works, uh, because renunciation or letting go is one of three right intentions. The other one's being harmlessness and goodwill. So I'll basically read the text and then I'll try to uh, evaluate the question as we go along. The text is 117, Majjhima Nikaya, translation from Bhikkhu Sujato. So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. There, the Buddha addressed the monks. Monks, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Buddha said this: Monks, I will teach you noble right immersion with its vital conditions and its prerequisites. Listen and apply your mind well. I will speak. Yes, sir, they replied, and Buddha said this. What is noble right immersion, or jhana, with its vital conditions and its prerequisites? They are right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, and right mindfulness. Unification of mind with these seven factors as prerequisites, it is what is called noble right immersion with its vital conditions and also with its prerequisites. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong view as wrong view and right view as right view. That's your right view. And what is wrong view? There is no meaning in giving, sacrifice, or offerings. There is no fruit or result of good and bad deeds. There is no afterlife. There is no such thing as mother and father or beings that are reborn spontaneously. And there is no ascetic or Brahmin who is rightly comported and rightly practiced, and who describes the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. This is wrong view. And what is right view? Right view is twofold, I say. There is right view accompanied by defilements, partakes of good deeds, and ripens in attachments. And there is right view that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. And what is right view that is accompanied by defilements, partakes of good deeds, and ripens in attachments? There is meaning in giving, sacrifice, and offerings. There are fruits of and results of good and bad deeds. There is an afterlife. There are such things as mother and father, and beings that are reborn spontaneously. And there are ascetics and Brahmins who are rightly comported and rightly practiced, and who describe the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. This is right view that is accompanied by defilements, partakes of good deeds, and ripens in attachments. And what is right view that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path? It's the wisdom, the faculty of wisdom, the power of wisdom, the awakening factor of investigation of principles, and right view as a factor of the path. In one intent on the noble, intent on the undefiled, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is called right view that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. They make an effort to give up wrong view and embrace right view. That's their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong view and take up right view. That's their right mindfulness. So these three things keep running and circling around right view, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? Well, you understand wrong thought or intention as wrong thought and right thought as right thought. That's your right view. And what is wrong thought? Thoughts of lust, of malice, and of cruelty. This is wrong thought. And what is right thought? Right thought is twofold, I say. There is right thought that is accompanied by defilements, partakes of good deeds, and ripens in attachments. And there is right thought that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. And what is right thought that is accompanied by defilements, partakes of good deeds, and ripens in attachments? Thoughts of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. This is right thought that is accompanied by defilements. And what is right thought that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path? It's the thinking, the placing of the mind, thought, planting, implanting, embedding of the mind, verbal process, intent on the noble, intent on the undefiled, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is right thought that is noble. Make an effort to give up wrong thought and embrace right thought. That's the right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong thought and take up right thought. That's the right mindfulness. So these three things keep running and circling around right thought, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. So we've now read the first two factors of the Eightfold Path, namely right view, and here it's translated as right thought. Also, so often it's translated as right intention. And it says that what comes first is right view or right perspective about what is, first of all, what is wrong view and right view, meaning ultimately what is wholesome, what leads to the unwholesome, or sustains the unwholesome, and what path leads to the wholesome. That is right perspective. From that, there can be intentions, right intention or thought rooted in that right view. And it says that there's three components to that right intention. First of all, there is renunciation, there's goodwill, and there's harmlessness. So renunciation, which is what we talked about at the group, means letting go. And what we're letting go of is basically anything that relates to what are the five aggregates, those being the body, being experiences, concepts, intentions, any point of contact, and attention, or it could also be seen as consciousness. So we're also letting go of consciousness itself. So that's a lot of things that we would let go of. And really, what is the benefit of that? Why would we have a sense of renunciation of these five aggregates? Well, really, the benefit in that is that really it's holding on to these aggregates, the body, and the other aggregates is stressful, and it only leads to more stress. Really, also, there's nothing stable to hold on to. So the body, the experiences, our concepts, intentions, our consciousness, all are continually changing. They are unreliable. They depend on other factors uh, for its own existence. So for the body, that arises dependent upon there being food, nutriment, which then can generate new cells uh, or replace any other aspect of the body. With the cessation of those nutriments, or with the cessation of an essential life faculty, there will be the cessation of the body. So, since the body is impermanent, holding on to it is only stressful, uh, and only leads to more stress, where that stress often even leads to enhanced process of deterioration of the quality of that body. That is, that very holding on is stressful for the body. Same for our experiences. Right now, there is the experience of sound, there's the experience of thoughts, there's the experience of all sorts of things in the six sense bases. And all of those experiences coming in arise dependent upon circumstances. The sounds, the thoughts, all of it arise, and also all of it will fade away. So holding on to an experience, say you're eating a pizza or delicious chocolate cake, really, the moment you hold on to that, is a way for that experience to get lost. So, uh, songs, uh, experiencing being together with someone, experiencing the meditation. The moment there is any holding on to the meditation becomes more difficult. And the experience becomes obscured. It becomes as though in a fog. So the way to really be mindful of the experience is to let go of the experience. And then the same is for the concepts. I might think I am a Buddhist, or I might think I'm definitely not a Buddhist, or I might think I'm a Christian, or I'm definitely not a Christian, or I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a child, all of these concepts. We think of these also that they might be stable, that they have some permanence. Um, but really, all of these concepts arise dependent upon the circumstances of the moment. So, one feminist might say of another feminist that they would not really be a feminist, or a Muslim might say that of another Muslim, or someone who is against any of these concepts might also have an idea of what that concept would be. And there would be an idea of permanence or stability in relation to that as to what it would be. But if you look closer on to the nature of that concept arises as a marker a label that is put on the range of experiences that arise in any given moment. So one might now be identify as a Buddhist, but that would signify, even in time for the own individual, a whole different thing than what they might have identified with 5 years ago or 3 years ago. And really, in every given moment, that concept emerges in the moment rather than being some kind of stable factor upon which we can hold on to it. And then even here, the holding on to it, to that label, let's say you're really holding on to the idea that you're a Buddhist, which would be ironic. You're clinging to the idea of I am this. And what it leads to, well, is that in the case of all of these identities, is that there is a pressure, there is a delineation, there is a demarcation of an area where you think you would exist, and that is then held on to. But really, the way circumstances work or flow is that all of these identities really have to emerge in any given moment. So there's not necessarily wrong with saying on a conventional level that you are a Buddhist or that you are any one of these things. But the moment that there is any kind of holding on to any such concept, then there arises stress for others and ourselves, because there is an idea of what should be or should not be. And this is really also the ground for conflicts, where the intentions that arise dependent upon concepts and alleged stability or permanence of concepts. Those intentions then might be to protect a concept or to fight some concept. But really, when you see closely, those concepts never are anywhere out there. They are just continuously unfolding and emerging. So once we can let go or renounce any kind of permanent category or concept, that then we can often more truly live that on a conventional level. That is, we can communicate or identify on the basis of a concept like, and I'm now talking about personality view, but there's also words like tree or cat or apple, none of which really convey the true nature of what is actually happening, because it's a label. And then the intentions, they likewise arise dependent upon previous intentions, actions, and they too are impermanent. They arise, they pass away, and holding on to them, therefore, is stressful. And also for all of these, that also means that they don't have identity. So because they just arise and cease dependent upon all of these circumstances, they cannot be said to have an inherent identity, because each of these things arise in a whole amalgam, a whole constellation upon another condition, this condition, that condition, that condition, and then that gives rise to a certain intention. And then that intention is now part of the fold, part of nature, and then that can then become a condition for arising of contact with, let's say, if the intention was to push away sound, that intention to push away sound now might lead to contact with the sound. That contact dependently arose upon that intention. So now all of those, that intention is part of all of our past intention, all of our past being. And now that contact also is part of the fold and becomes part of all the potential in the environment dependent upon which attention arises and experience arises, and then that experience is labeled, or in terms of a concept, it's, oh, this is this sound. And then that might lead to another intention, and that intention might lead to concept, attention, experience, concept, intention, etc. And it's a continuous flux. And yeah, so holding on to any of these is understood to be not leading to anything, to be counterproductive, as was discussed. So when we let go of them, we place our trust in something else, we seek refuge in something else, and we seek refuge basically in the laws of nature. The Dhamma Ayakema translated them as laws of nature. So the Buddha taught the laws of nature, and he taught a path away from suffering, with the first link away from that suffering being confidence in a path, in a practice, in alignment with laws of nature, that leads away from that suffering. And that path starts with the right perspective. And then the intentions of the other two being goodwill and harmlessness, and they all enforce each other. So once it is understood that holding on is stressful, we can use the attention of harmlessness to see holding on to this distraction is stressful and it's harming me. Therefore, through this intention of harmlessness, I can let go, I can practice renunciation. Same with goodwill, with cultivating goodwill rooted in the heart. We wish the best for others and ourselves, and then arousing that energy, we can look at that distraction, and we can look at the contact in relation to that distraction. So where the distraction is sort of making contact with the mind, and it's taking space of the mind, it's an uninvited guest into our space. We're not really our space, since we're letting go of consciousness. We're allowing consciousness to flow freely. But a distraction enters the mental space without, and it's felt as stressful, because really what the nature inclines to, and what the nature, or what the nature sort of through some voice or some kind of anxiety wishes for ourselves, is peacefulness, freedom, calm, joy, all of these wholesome states. So this distraction takes that away. Uh, and then there might result some kind of struggle. But when we have the goodwill, we can notice, oh, this just came in, and then we surround the contact with that, with friendliness, harmlessness, with letting go. And it's like something came in, and there's like a needle or a dart. Craving is also seen as a dart, enters the mind, and we're just putting friendliness or harmlessness, goodwill, and letting go around the distraction, around the dart. And doing that, it just, we allow it to flow away by enveloping that with those wholesome states. So that is renunciation. In short and summary, meaning letting go of the process of identifying with any of the 5 aggregates. Which have 3 characteristics: stress, impermanence, or inconstancy, and not self, because they arise dependent upon circumstances that are also impermanent and arise dependent upon other circumstances. Yeah, that's for renunciation. I might do one on pressure. Can we live without pressure? Maybe in short, pressure being another word for craving, or as a manifestation of craving. Craving translated from tanha, or thirst. So thirsting for existence, thirsting for its opposite, non-existence, or thirsting for needing to have something, which also is translated as possessiveness or lust. And these 3 forms of craving are manifesting as pressure, and it is possible to cultivate a mind without that pressure, to organize a life and do what the mind wants to do in any given situation, because you can basically see it as fuel, where anger or the craving for non-existence, which is associated with anger, is a really costly fuel. It's very expensive. It's takes a lot to do things out of anger. There might be result on a really short term, a very short term amount of relief, but a much more sustainable fuel and a much more sustainable form of relief is equanimity, or goodwill, or compassion, or joy. So equanimity being balance. Something good happens, there's balance. Something bad happens, there's balance. The mind is not easily shaken. When that fuel is there, the mind can use that to be in the moment, to do what is right in that particular moment, and to work with the unfolding of nature, of circumstances. And it might be a sort of more long-term type of energy, where it seems as though for anger or for greed or through this craving for existence, which is often leads to doubt, restlessness, or drowsiness. Those three or five types of mental energy are just draining. So yeah, getting rid of those only liberates the mind to do is what seems best to do in any given moment. Yeah, thank you for listening. The sutta or discourse continues with right and wrong communication or speech. But then it might be a long video. So I might continue on that later. Thank you.